Welcome to Sunday service. We're live now, so the conversations might be well.
We once had a smaller screen.
The video is gonna be ready to play, right?
Yep, it'll play on that screen.
Is there anything we need to do?
Hello.
So it's very good. And you have to come here with you.
She's staying at our house.
And there were issues around that. I noticed at one point. But no, everybody redeemed themselves and, but the athletes were in there, somebody. And also within the right. I think, yes, there you
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm getting to the doctor. He was his procedure.
Okay.
Ready? Starting.
We're always looking for.
Actually, I served in Minneapolis. She was our intern sister 1 year. So, well, I'm excited to have her.
Very
I never, and then she's been a former intern or a student this year. I'm recently on she's actually got, she's not excited because I'm a medical. Until.
Cindy, there's stuff happening at Johnny's house now. There's tons
Well,
of
you're
kids.
taking part of your medical leave. That's great.
He's doing a lot.
I didn't know that.
So he wants to. Also different sports.
We're not program buddies, we're always
He's
looking
moving two balls.
Yeah, they things for you all not that long.
So they met, they went out yesterday with kids for the first time. So the kids got to see and they met some neighbors, the Reynolds, and somebody else. The Reynolds. Sarah, yeah. So that was very nice.
Yes.
So absolutely. And part of it, some of the work and some, he is. Oh, wow. Oh my God.
Later.
Yes, yes, well, yes, you can, send your top side, but you just run your stuff. Everybody else.
I'm waving at you, I'm doing it.
And I want to
But usually musicians are still recommending singing.
They already mentioned the home fit, so that's just. Family from Appleton, but. The burgers, Irish burgers, it's refreshing.
You know, I still know a lot of people in the Appleton Fellowship, so when
They're all, everybody's very active.
Oh, cool, that's wonderful.
So.
It's a regeneration thing.
But I. Fortunately, converted to.
There are many, it's my
I would argue with you because we don't.
Well, people in the-
It's wild. We don't invite them in. It's
That can be challenging as anything. There's also no double standard
Exactly. Okay, we don't fear. I know.
element.
We talked about that. We were doing our pledge drive. It's like, oh, I could just scare you all to hell. I would, but.
Where we're living in a lot of property. That was a two-year history.
Yeah, it's a different culture up there.
So I came here about
Little bit church up there. Out there, the worship music was there, the pianist. They had done a big fundraiser auction event.
So,
That's when you get a place like service. You know, they had to pay. You know.
what you said?
It was actually, yeah, I said, come sit up front, you know, and yeah. And it was fun because I was the intern. I had done that same service places. So I was actually getting to see how it played out in the it's good.
No.
Every year. It's a great
Good, you?
Yeah.
Ray?
Well, I was.
And I used to do a lot of cross country.
Well, when people tell me you ought to come up here in the winter time and it's beautiful, that's a sign of the brain damage that you can see from being here in the winter.
Well,
That's just the way to do it.
yeah.
You get damaged and it's a good period of time.
Well, we're not that far away now. You get damaged. You have
Florida.
Florida.
We don't shovel.
No shoveling, right? Festivals here in the summer, Florida in the winter.
That's pretty good.
And you went right in.
They do that. Sure.
And you use, man. That's right. Somebody's
Yes, exactly, yes, that's what they're trying to. Do you want me to say something?
Crisis situation.
Or your home in Florida.
Fort Myers,
Okay.
you know the area?
Chico's Sanibel.
We're right off the Santa Fe.
Right.
We're at the Shell Point.
Oh, okay. At Gulf there.
Huh?
At
You
Gulf.
Yeah, we live in-
Right. And he also went to She goes down pretty much every year. Got friends who stay in Sanibel.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return together, return together, return to the home of your soul. Return together, return together, return to the home of your soul.
Morning.
Morning.
Boy, is it nice to hear singing again in church.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol, for the beautiful music. Jim Black, I'm the service leader today on this beautiful, beautiful day. Thanks for showing up on this beautiful day. It'd be a great day to play hooky. It's our custom to invite visitors or people who haven't been here in a while who might feel like standing up and let us know where you're from. Anybody want to stand? Yes.
My family's from Boulder, Colorado. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
This is our friend Carla Miley from Rock Island, Illinois.
Carla, nice. Anybody else? Oh, we got somebody.
Could you turn the mic up a little bit?
Tom? She can't hear. Should we turn it up just a little bit?
Jerry Iverson and my wife, Helene, from Appleton.
Oh, thank you.
And then I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen Iverson Rickers, and this is Eric Rickers and Quinn Rickers and Ari Rickers, and we're part of Christina's fan club.
All right.
The Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Appleton, but we always love joining you here and feel so welcome. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, yeah, if you have a problem hearing, let me know now. Are we getting a little feedback? Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to turn it down a bit. Yeah, turn it down just a little bit.
Here, let's do this. Lower this down a little, and then you
Okay.
can project your voice.
Yes.
Still here.
There
Here.
you go.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. Thanks, Tom. Okay. If you could take a moment to make sure your cell phones are turned off. On the back of the order of service, there are announcements. Does anybody have any additions? And Terry will bring around the mic. And if you can identify who you are so people at home know who's speaking.
I'm Vicki Ash. I'm part of the 25th Anniversary Task Force. And I just want to remind you, this would be our last Sunday to collect for Help of Door County. Very important mission in this county. Serves the entire county from Washington Island clear down to the southern edge. And their main mission is to stop the violence, if you need a little graphic. And this is all kinds of violence, domestic and otherwise. It's an amazing effort. We're almost to $7,000 with the match, but let's get there. Let's get to 7,000 for this important ministry.
And Vicki, with today's offertory, if they just put an envelope in there,
Anything that's in the offering today that's not designated as a pledge or for some other purpose will automatically go to help.
all right, thank you.
Hi, Barb Campbell from the Plant Powered Eating Committee. We still need your recipes. This does not have to be complicated. If you saw Bob Lindahl's pizza recipe, it is fabulous, by the way. It takes 2 minutes. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. So please send your recipes, email to Buttons, Judy Mueller, myself.
Okay, thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
Okay. Anybody?
I just wanted to, on behalf of the Social Justice Committee, though I'm not a member, I wanted to let people know that the Democracy Tour Bus, which will be here on the 29th at this facility, is also making a stop, oh, hey, Karen, also making a stop in Sturgeon Bay at Martin Park on the 30th from 3 to 7 p.m. So if you can't make it here, but you want to be part of the event, they're doing it the 30th in Martin Park.
Thank you. In fact,
Yeah,
Mark
sorry.
Richards contacted me yesterday.
I know, we had about 6 different emails going back and forth about who might be here to make the announcement. I hope I did it right.
And you did it perfectly right. I'm just going to add a little bit that today through Wednesday, the Democracy Tour Bus will be parked in our parking lot. And if you haven't seen the bus, it's a huge bus. Tim Corden put it together. He drives it around the state to get voter registration and to discuss social justice issues. And on the 29th, next Wednesday, He hopes to bring as many social justice leaders together here in our parking lot to share their vision with the public. So, okay, thank you. Any other announcements? Our speaker today is Reverend Christina Leona Tracy. Now, the interesting thing, this is her fourth attempt to speak here. Between the pandemic, illnesses, and child adoption, she finally made it here, so hopefully she returns soon. But she is the senior minister at the Fox Valley Youth Fellowship, and she's been so since August of 2017. She has her master's degree in clinical psychology and a master's of divinity from Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago. She lives in Appleton with her husband and 2 young sons and 2 big sweet dogs. Today's reading is from Heather Janulis. Our prophets died for the freedom of faith. We are here in their spirit. We are here to practice and sustain our living tradition, to light a chalice, claiming for justice, the heart and power of fire. In our free faith, we are here, seeking freedom from despair, the freedom to be loved as ourselves, and the freedom to grow beyond imagination. We are here, gathered in the name of all that we find holy. Let us give thanks for the gift of gathering here. And please stand and embody your spirit for the unison affirmation and the hummingbird doxology. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom and to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, to celebrate within a caring community those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. This is the time in our service that we offer an opportunity for anyone who might want to share a joy and celebration or concern to lessen their burden. And again, Terry will bring the mic around. Any joys or concerns? Oh, here you go.
I just want to say I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to see the world with new eyes. I just had my second cataract surgery. So.
Hi, Karen here. I just found out about 2 weeks ago that my brother, who is 5 years younger than I am, and always said to my daughters there were 2 disasters in 1941, and one was Pearl Harbor, implying that the other one was my birth. So, he has stage 4 lymphoma. Well, I've seen him once since that diagnosis, so please keep him in your heart.
I'm Judy Brudd. I just wanted to be here with all of you this morning because I'm grieving and saddened by the decision about Roe versus Wade this past week. And that's not the only reason I'm here, but I just want all of us to begin to think about what we can do to stop what's going on in our country and act as soon as we can to start to make a difference. And so I just think it's time to wake up and move on and try to fight.
I think the solution there is to vote.
And vote, of course.
Good morning, this is Anna Knapp. My youngest Dugan is at Girl Scout camp right now. And, You can tell I'm missing her a little bit. She's been there for a week already and is currently canoeing a 5-day trip on the Wisconsin River. I know, it's an amazing thing. And we still have a week with her being at camp. So talk to me next week and maybe I'll be tears of joy instead of tears of missing her.
Hello, I'm Jerry Iverson, my wife Elaine. We are celebrating our 47th wedding anniversary on Tuesday. She considers it a miracle.
And you're still in training.
I'm the training probation.
Hi, I'm Helene DeLeo, and I'm very, very happy to know that I've survived 88 years. I had a wonderful party last weekend with all my daughter-in-law, my granddaughter-in-law, et cetera, and several friends. And I've been eating for 3 days, and I'm gonna stop now.
Okay, so there'll be a music video and then followed by the auditorium.
When I was a boy each week, Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread. Everyone would be involved. So maybe the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still. But now I can't keep track. 'Cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Fine from water is not so small, but an even better pleasure is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but to find them where there isn't one. When holy water wasn't there at best, barely wet my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath, like I'm swimming in a sea again. Used to be a world half there, having second grade hanging out. But I walk in with reverent care, 'cause everything is holy now. The questioning child's face, say it's not a testament, not very hard to say. See, nothing more than love. Say it's not a sacrament, I tell you that it can't be love. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird, shining like a burning bush, and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, having second-rate hand-me-downs, but I walk in with a reverent care, 'cause everything is holding out.
That was very, very nice. Thank you. That's from Appleton, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's in Appleton. We are now passing the plate live for the offertory. And please be generous for help with Door County and for the fellowship. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so grateful to be here finally on this gorgeous day. Thank you for coming. I said to my husband, I don't think anyone's going to be here. It's such a gorgeous day. It's wonderful to see all your faces. Just to be clear, that song, Holy Now, is written by singer-songwriter Peter Mayer, who's a UU member up in Minnesota. But that performance was created by Steve Seek, Dr. Steve Seek, who's the music director in Appleton, and I believe he's preached for you here. We have two readings this morning. The first is an excerpt from a lecture series entitled Applied Evolution. It was given by the Universalist minister, the Reverend Dr. Marion D. Shutter, in the year 1900. The distinction between natural and supernatural is utterly and forever abolished. There is but one realm. Call it what you will, the whole subject of the miraculous must pass under revision. Mysteries there may be, but violation of the laws of nature by him who impressed them upon the universe is out of the question. Once these violations were supposed to be proofs for the existence of God, but today it is felt that the order which everywhere prevails is an infinitely better proof. Science has abolished the old form of the argument from design and obliged all who believe in God to reread his plan and purpose. If we look with awe and reverence upon God when we believed the universe so small, with how much greater reverence should we regard him now that the crystalline roof has been lifted and the worlds without number are seen revolving beyond? If we knelt with adoration before God when we believed that his work extended through but 6,000 years, if we felt that God was being pushed out of the universe when the law of gravitation was discovered, how much more clearly do we see now that it identifies him all the more closely with his universe? The second reading is from the book When God is gone, everything is holy, by Chet Ramo. God did it was not satisfactory to Darwin. He sought a story of the past that invoked no agency except those that we see at work in the world today. A single story that embraced the hills, the valleys, the myriad fossil organisms with their similarities and differences. As for the agency behind the story, he was content to say, I don't know. Those three little words, I don't know, may be science's most important contribution to human civilization. Yes, we have learned an astonishing amount about how the world works, but of equal significance is our growing awareness of how much we don't know. Darwin was not averse to confessing his ignorance. He was especially ready to admit his innocence with regard to the big questions, the questions traditionally addressed by religion. Why is there something rather than nothing? Why are there laws of nature? And why are they what they are? Who am I? Where did I come from? What does it all mean? I invite us now into a moment of silence to center ourselves, to settle our bodies and minds into this place, to reflect and prepare for the message. Do you all have hymnals here? No?
Yeah, we do, well, we have them, but they're not out.
But they're not out right now, okay. So we often talk about the 7 Unitarian Universalist principles. If you've come to a UU fellowship at all, you know about the 7 principles. But we often forget about the 6 UU sources of inspiration. So if we had our hymnals out, if you were to look at the front of the gray hymnal, both of them are listed, the 7 principles and the 6 sources. The sources explain where our principles emerge from, the ways that we allow ourselves to be inspired, everything from world religions to earth-centered practice and science. But the first of these Unitarian Universalist sources of inspiration lifts up, quote, that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, that moves us to a renewal of the spirit. And there's more words because Unitarian Universalists like to make things as long as possible. But I often describe that one just by saying those things that make you say, wow, that's that first source. And my earliest experience of that sense of transcending mystery and wonder was lying on the grass in the backyard of my home growing up, staring up at the sky, the night sky, looking at the few stars that I could visualize with my naked eye, and feeling disoriented by the hugeness of it all. I remember the sensation as I stared and stared and stared into that darkness, the stars that sort of came in and out of focus. I remember that I felt like I was falling upward into the sky. Knowing that I was so small on this tiny little planet in this ordinary solar system, in one of millions of galaxies, rather than making me feel insignificant, I had the opposite reaction. Complete and utter awe that our existence and consciousness was possible at all. And then gratitude. There might have been nothing, but there was not nothing. There was something, and I get to be a part of it. Now, as a child, I wrestled often with religious questions. I'm not sure why we didn't go to church much. Perhaps it was just me, it was just my personality, and perhaps it was because I had close proximity to my own mortality. I struggled a lot with my health and illness as a child. But I wondered a lot about those big questions that Chet Ramo talked about. And I found answers for a long time in traditional conservative Christianity. It felt comforting to have a personal God in charge of all the chaos, because I sure knew that I wasn't in control of it. But over time, the nagging questions, the increased awareness of world religions and cultures and belief and science and philosophy, my own personal experiences brought me to a place where that personal God was no longer something that I could believe in. I tried. I wanted to believe. Truth be told, I still do. I miss the spiritual relationship that I had with that God. The faith and the trust I had, the comfort I felt, the challenge that I felt called to live up to maintain that relationship. And for those of you in this room who still maintain some version of a relationship with a God, I fully honor and support your path and your beliefs. But for me, it just didn't fit anymore. And I would have been a hypocrite to try to keep claiming that it was my belief. My first Unitarian Universalist church that I found in college had a prayer practice in the middle of each service. The minister would speak some words that invoked connection and love, comfort and hope. She would lift up the joys and concerns of the community. And then the minister would begin that prayer each week with, God of many names, whose mystery is beyond all naming. And that was how I knew I was in the right place. I did not need to actively reject God. I needed to widen my lens to that mystery beyond all naming. And that is what it felt like. It felt like a widening, an opening of my arms and my heart beyond myself to something much bigger. And in some strange way, that something bigger embraced me back. In college, around the same time that I discovered the UU Church and this mystery beyond our naming, I was pre-med. I was studying science. I was leading a program on our college campus called WISE, Women in Science and Engineering. And we college students would coordinate events every month to bring local elementary school girls, 4th to 6th grade, to our campus to learn and engage with science. I had fun coming up with cool activities, along with inviting professors to come and help us find ways to make the programs engaging for the kids. And I remember one activity where a professor used this surveying tool, like for building roads, to help us mark off a timeline on the ground from the present day back to the beginning of the earth. Something like half an inch was a million years. I don't remember all the details. But the earliest recorded history was like a quarter of an inch from where we stood. And the starting point, the Earth's formation, was many blocks down the road. Maybe it was a mile. I can't remember, but I remember how it felt to visualize the vastness of time. That little half inch was everything we know about history. But again, rather than feeling insignificant, it made me feel a part of the vastness of time and existence. And when I became a minister about 10 years after that college WISE experience, I was serving at a UU congregation in Annapolis, Maryland. The senior minister there, Fred Muir, wrote, he had a passion for Charles Darwin, and he even edited the book. It's called The Whole World Kin, and it's a UU book about the intersection of faith and evolution and the scientific worldview. And one time we were having a meeting, I think it was a new member class, and he said, wouldn't it be cool if we could have like a summer camp for kids and we taught them about Darwin and evolution? I was the intern minister. And with my experience in WISE, I worked with some amazing volunteers and we created Camp Beagle, named after the HMS Beagle, the ship that Darwin was aboard when he made his observations that led to the theory of evolution by natural selection. In creating, I got hired at that church, so that thing that I started when I was an intern, I had to then become in charge of. You know, that's how it works. In creating and supporting that camp for many years, I delved into both the scientific and spiritual aspects of evolution. We jokingly called it Science Church Camp. But it was true. We only shared the scientific truths with the campers. We made a agreement with ourselves that we were not going to stray from that during camp, but that we would instill in them a powerful sense of interconnection, wonder, awe, and gratitude at the many miracles, natural miracles of our universe and our planet. Because one of the purposes of religion is to help us answer the big questions of life and to help us make meaning in our lives. Religion often comes to play in people's lives when things are especially painful, confusing, or complex. I think someone here said, I'm here today because things are hard in the world, right? As the saying goes, there are no atheists in foxholes. Now, I don't actually think that's true. I disagree with that statement, but I do agree that many people do seek out the solace, hope, and answers that religion can provide when they are struggling. Many of the people at the fellowship in Appleton, where I serve, joined the fellowship when 9/11 happened, or when a presidential election left them in despair, or when they were dealing with a personal crisis or tragedy. The problem with the modern new atheist thinkers, like Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, is that they don't acknowledge the need that humans have for such comfort, hope, and answers. By blithely eliminating God or deriding people's faith, which is often what they do, without providing or suggesting something to replace it. From where I'm standing, that's irresponsible at best and cruel at worst. Charles Darwin states at the end of his seminal work on the origin of species that, quote, there is a grandeur in this view of life, with its several powers, having been originally breathed into a few forms or into one, that whilst this planet has gone cycling on according to the fixed law of gravity, from some simple beginning, endless forms, most beautiful and most wonderful, have been and are being evolved, end quote. That's the last paragraph on the origin of species. Darwin's assessment that there is a grandeur in this view of life is the same conclusion that I also have come to. In my own religious searching, which continues today and hopefully will continue until I reach the end of my life, I've come to realize that I am most comfortable with the term religious naturalist to describe my theological perspective. When it comes to God or gods, I'm most of the time an agnostic. It's not so much that I don't know whether God exists, it's that I feel sure that the answer to the question of God's existence is unknowable. And so I find inspiration in the answers to the big questions of religion, or at least the fodder to explore those questions, in the natural world. For many people, that notion that we humans evolved from the lower forms of life, it leaves them feeling unimportant, that their worth is intact only if they were intentionally created by God in God's image and given a special place at the top of the pecking order. But that's not the only option. Knowing that over millennia, our ancestors' survival and adaptation gave rise to who we are today, that the intricacies of our inner ear are thanks to the fish who were bold enough to climb on land? Knowing that our brains are struggling to comprehend the amount of information and stimulation that they encounter every day is because of the fight or flight instincts that our bodies evolved. It's not our fault if we're so stressed out. It's because this part of our brain is still a lizard. Knowing that our opposable thumbs provided some advantage in grasping, eating, fighting, building, whatever it was, to our hominid ancestors, knowing that we are the inheritors of all the risks, successes, and changes from generation to generation, that view of life can fill us with gratitude and awe and hope for the future, because we too have the power to adapt if we are bold and brave enough to risk it for the sake of the next generation. It's this view of life that gives me comfort when it seems like everything is hard. When pandemics and political uprisings and attempted coups and fake news and Supreme Court decisions make my head spin. It's too easy to feel overwhelmed by the bigness and hardness of it all. And sometimes I do feel that way. But when I remember my place, our place, in the grandeur of life, it helps me remember that this is not the beginning and it is not the end. Change is the only constant, and change will and can come, especially if we are brave enough to be a part of it. Peter Mayer, the UU singer-songwriter who is most beloved for the hymn Blue Boat Home, is himself a religious naturalist. When I was in seminary, I once spent an hour chatting with him about my fantasy of creating a Unitarian Universalist liturgical cycle, a calendar that was embedded in naturalist cycles. I will never forget his very patient and warm embrace of my early ministerial enthusiasm. His song, Holy Now, which you just heard, chronicles his personal journey from a faith where miracles were scarce and confined to certain times, places, and books, to one where miracles were abundant. From a worldview that put holiness in a tiny box to one that saw holiness everywhere. And so in that spirit of religious naturalism and Peter Mayer's inspiring song, let's conclude with a moment of reflection. Would you join me in this moment of centering, or maybe you wish to think of it as prayer? God of many names, mystery beyond all our naming, we reach out with our hearts and minds beyond the labels, words, stories, and compartments that have limited our view of the miraculous. And as we reach out beyond ourselves, beyond our community, beyond our borders, beyond our planet, beyond this galaxy, we feel the enormity of existence. And we know that we are held in it. That there might have been nothing, but that there is not nothing. There is something. We know that we are the inheritors of this universal impulse toward existence, light, elements, life. We know that we are not alone, not here on this earth, perhaps not beyond it. We know that we are not teetering at the top of the pyramid of life, but instead we are nestled in the comforting branches of the evolutionary tree, surrounded by our ancestors, our siblings and cousins, human and animal and otherwise. We feel the warmth of the interconnections of cells and neurons and atoms within and between and beyond our awareness. We acknowledge the chaos, and we know that it has been with us always. We reach out with our hearts and minds, and we know that you that is bigger than each of us and all of us, energy, time, space, love, that you reach back and embrace us in your wholeness and in our wholeness too. Amen. And may it be so.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home. Sun, my stay, and moon, my rudder, as I glide the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. Breathe the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home.
Oh, is it nice to hear singing? Thank you very much. And thank you, Christina, for your great message that opened our eyes to the miracles all around us. I think as early as it is, we'll start a talk back at about 11:05 and go for about a half hour. So if you want to stick around and talk to Christina more about her message, we'll be meeting on this side of the sanctuary, and we'll hear more about that. Our closing words are from Norman Mailer. Our eyes and our mind now turn to the ordinary. Leaving the space made sacred by our presence, take with you at least some seed of understanding, hope, courage, and drop it into the confusion of this world. Nourish the seed that it might grow as a tree of living, giving shelter to the weary and hope to the despair. Be yourself a branch of the tree of life.
and we'll get to coffee.
So I'll move the computer.
We'll just do a circle right here. Okay.
Thank you for joining us. We're going to go head on Zoom now, but I hope you have a lovely morning and it was a beautiful message. You have a great day.